Peace. Everybody wants it. Few understand what it costs. We talk about peace like it's free, like it's a posture, a mindset, or yoga pose. But real peace is expensive. It costs ego, confrontation, accountability, and sometimes the illusion of harmony itself. The truth is, avoiding conflict isn't peacekeeping. It's emotional debt collection waiting to happen. And sooner or later, the interest comes due. Most people don't actually want peace. They want comfort. They want quiet, not resolution. They will swallow resentment just to keep the noise down, thinking silence means balance. But peace and avoidance are not synonymous. One requires courage, the other runs from it. We think walking away makes us mature. Sometimes it just makes us ghost in our own story. Conflict isn't the enemy. Immaturity is. Because conflict handled with maturity becomes clarity. And clarity builds boundaries. And when you keep dodging confrontation, you trade understanding for endurance. And endurance eventually turns to bitterness. We call that being the bigger person, but often it's just a slow surrender of self. We have confused stillness with suppression. We tell ourselves we are keeping the peace, but what we're really doing is stockpiling unspoken words. Every time you avoid hard truth to keep someone comfortable, you shrink a little. And peace earned through silence doesn't last. It decays from the inside out. Let's be real. People who fear conflict often grew up around chaos. Arguing meant danger. Speaking up meant punishment. And so now, as adults, they overcorrect. They confuse safety with silence. But safety without honesty isn't peace, it's paralysis. The price of peace is honesty, and honesty always asks for payment in discomfort. It's the conversation you don't want to have, the boundary you are afraid to enforce, the apology you owe but can't find the courage to give. You can either pay with awkwardness now or resentment later, but you will pay. Avoidance feels cheaper in the moment, but every time you ignore an issue, it compounds like emotional interest. Until one day, the smallest trigger becomes the explosion you cannot explain. Because peace without confrontation isn't peace, it's pressure. And pressure doesn't disappear, it waits. And here's the irony. The people who avoid conflict the most usually want connection the deepest. But connection without truth is counterfeit. You can't bond over avoidance. You can only delay the break. Every relationship, every friendship, every theme, it either grows through conflict or dies from lack of it. We are not supposed to fight all the time, no. But we are supposed to face things. It's funny how we teach kids to use their words. Then we grow up and stop using ours. We walk on eggshells and call it empathy. But empathy without honesty is manipulation. You are controlling outcomes to avoid emotions. And peace built on control always collapse. Sometimes you have to risk temporary chaos to earn lasting calm. Because the only thing worse than an argument is the quiet tension of everything unsaid. That kind of peace doesn't heal. It hardens. Look around. The strongest relationship, the strongest friendship, the healthiest marriages, the best teams, they don't avoid conflict. They refine it. They turn disagreement into dialogue. They understand that growth doesn't always sound like harmony. Sometimes it sounds like truth with friction. Let's bring it closer to home, for men especially. Avoidance gets mistaken for stoicism. We think calm equals control. We bite our tongue to keep things from getting worse. But all that does is disconnect us from the people who actually care. Because real strength isn't in staying silent. It's in saying what's true without needing to dominate the room. Because peace built on power isn't peace. It's hierarchy. And hierarchy always crumbles under the weight of honesty. Avoidance is seductive because it offers temporary comfort. It lets you feel like the better person for walking away. But if your peace depends on pretending nothing is wrong, then your peace is performative. You can't build serenity out of suppression and pretending to be unbothered. It's just anxiety in costume. Sometimes peacekeeping is just fear with manners. We stay silent to keep people close. We agree to things that betray our values. We let situations linger past their expiration date. But keeping everyone comfortable will eventually make you uncomfortable with yourself. And there's no peace in self-betrayal. None whatsoever. The cost of peace is always truth. And truth rarely comes cheap. It asks for confrontation, not aggression. For courage, not volume. For clarity, not comfort. Avoiding conflict saves relationships on paper, but destroys them in spirit. Because nothing grows in false harmony. Think about the times you avoided a hard talk. How long did the peace last? An hour? A week? A couple of weeks? Because avoidance doesn't solve it, it delays. And the longer you delay, the more you distort the story in your head. By the time you finally speak, you are arguing with your imagination, not the person in front of you. Maybe the lesson isn't to love conflict, but to trust it, to see it as conversation that keeps connection alive. Not all fights are failures, so my foundation is being adjusted. The key is fighting with care, not avoidance disguised as maturity. Because real peace isn't found in silence, it's built through honest sound. Because at the end of the day, we are all architects of peace in our own way. Some built through it, others through distance. But distance eventually cost you the closeness you were trying to protect. So maybe the question isn't how do I avoid conflict? Maybe it's what kind of peace am I actually building? One that is quiet or one that is real? Because peace that costs you your authenticity isn't peace at all. It's a polite version of collapse. And sooner or later, it shows. I'll catch you in the next one.